The rains are here. Let's start off the program by saying we should encourage the people around us not to dump refuse recklessly, because somehow they find their way into the marine environment and then in turn find their way back into our system. So please, let's protect the marine environment. With that, I welcome you to the program, which is your guide to the maritime sector, both within Nigeria and globally. This is NIMASA This Week.
NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
Part of the program today will be dedicated to celebrating a relationship that is growing between NIMASA and one of the coastal states in Nigeria. Yes, the Bayelsa State Governor, Senator Diri, paid a visit to the NIMASA headquarters. It was a very fruitful session. We'll be sharing that with you.
With the visit of His Excellency and his call for partnership and synergy, I think we are in safe hand now. Start modeling those things into real money profit.
Now, there is a brain box, something called the brain box of the Deep Blue project of the federal government. What is it? It is the C4I Center of NIMASA. We'll introduce it even further to you today on the program. Then, we'll be bringing to you the visit of WISTA to NIMASA. What is WISTA? You'll also find out. My name is Cordelia Obey. I'm going to be your captain on this voyage. I'll just say please sit back, relax, and enjoy NIMASA This Week.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
Now let's start off the program by sharing with you this pleasant news, and it has to do with the coastal state of Bayelsa and NIMASA. Their relationship is getting better by the day. The governor of Bayelsa State paid a visit to NIMASA just last week, and he had gone along with his executive cabinet. And then the management of NIMASA, led by the DG NIMASA, welcomed them with very open arms. It was an engaging session, at the end of which the governor of Bayelsa State did say that the maritime sector, and by extension NIMASA, had a huge role to play in building the economic future of Nigeria.
Bayelsa State has one of the largest crude and natural gas deposits in Nigeria. Bayelsa has a riverine and estuarine setting. Many communities are almost, and in some cases, completely surrounded by water, making them inaccessible by road. Out of the 8 local government headquarters, 3, Ekeremo, Southern Ijo, and Brass local government areas can only be accessed by water. It's a state with many tributaries opening into the Atlantic Ocean. With many islands and so much maritime potential, a healthy working relationship between the state government and the management of NIMASA can only mean one thing for Nigeria: harnessing the nation's maritime potential. So when the state governor, His Excellency Diri, walks into the boardroom of NIMASA, it was a visit that means so much to the development of the nation's maritime potential. Observing the protocols guarding against the spread of COVID-19 as usual, the NIMASA Director General, Dr. Bashir Jamo, flanked by his executive directors and some top management of the agency, welcomed the visiting governor, who then responded, describing maritime as the most enduring wealth of the nation.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency recognize the importance of Bayelsa State in the schemes of things when it comes to the issue of maritime industry. The economic activities as it relates to maritime, Bayelsa State always prominent. On behalf of the governing board, the executive team, and the top management of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, we welcome you to the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, the affects regulatory agency in the country.
I believe that this agency and Bayelsa State are twins and are brothers and sisters, that we need to join hands together to strengthen the maritime domain of this country. We need you, just as we believe that you also and equally need Bayelsa State.
Speaking further, Governor Diri appealed to NIMASA to increase its presence in Bayelsa State, especially in the area of domain awareness, to ensure security in the state's maritime environment and build confidence in investments in the state's huge maritime potential.
Let me equally appreciate you for all that you have done in the maritime environment and domain in terms of communication, information, and in terms of your support for the NNS Falcon Eye technology in securing the maritime environment of Nigeria. May I, at this juncture, also appeal to you to extend that facility to our own state. We have issues of kidnapping, issues of piracy, and all other criminal activities within our waters. Our thinking and belief is that if that is extended to our state, it will also douse and reduce the criminal tendencies within our maritime domain.
The governor requested NIMASA's support to the government in its attempt to develop the state's maritime industry. He sought the agency's partnership in the areas of training and youth development, establishment of a maritime academy in the state, and development of the Agay Deep Seaport in Ekeremore local government area, and wreck removal, amongst others.
We are aware that you have done so well in ensuring that these water wreckages are removed across the country. May I also equally invite you to Bayelsa to create a healthier marine ecosystem, so to speak, by ensuring that most of those wreckages, which has caused some accidents in the night particularly, and others that are not even yet identified, are removed from our maritime domain.
Responding, the NIMASA Director General said Bayelsa was one of the agency's strongest allies in pursuit of its mandate of sustainable regulation and promotion of the maritime sector. He said security was of utmost importance in the realization of a prosperous maritime sector, adding that he would facilitate the incorporation of Bayelsa State in the ongoing effort to integrate the maritime domain awareness facilities of relevant stakeholders, including NIMASA's C4I, Nigeria's Navy's Falcon Eye, Nigerian Ports Authority's C3I, and the 1247 of the Nigeria Police.
In the last 2 months, we agreed within ourselves that we are going to incorporate all the entire platforms to interface with each other and ensure that we have seamless operation in terms of information sharing. So it is my sincere hope and aim to see Bayelsa be part of this platform. We will certainly do everything possible to incorporate Bayelsa on this radar.
There was this little banter about NIMASA improving her presence in Bayelsa State. At the moment, NIMASA monitor operations cover over 17 government and privately owned jetties, oil-filled pollution prevention activities in Bayelsa State. However, the government wants more presence, and the NIMASA DG says the agency will oblige the request so long as the state government will partner NIMASA.
May I seize the opportunity to invite my friend and brother, the Director General, and other executive directors to equally pay us a visit, to have a first-hand knowledge of all that I've said here and all that I'm yet to say. Thank you and God bless you.
Mentioning that we have to establish office, it means we don't have to spend a dime. He will now provide that office accommodation for us and start operating from Bayelsa.
What could be better than that? We provide everything. Just come. And such an invitation would not be difficult to accept now, would it? No, not at all. Now, at the end of that session, the DG NIMASA and the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State had some time to chat with the journalists.
My visit today is to explore ways and means of deepening the cooperation that had already existed between the government and the people of Bayelsa State and NIMASA. Basically, you cannot talk about our riverine domain, our maritime domain, in terms of security and even in terms of wealth creation without involving NIMASA. And I believe that working with NIMASA, we will be able to secure lives and properties in our maritime domain. We will be able to curb issues like sea piracy, kidnapping within our maritime domain. And we are also very sure that NIMASA is relevant in terms of the Agay seaport, that the deep seaport that has already started, even though not fully. The former government has done a lot about that, and we hope to take it further. God willing, we hope to complete it.
The interesting part of the leadership of this maritime industry is that everybody is eager to see the progress of the industry. You know, in those days, you will find that, for instance, my tenure 4 years, and the MPA tenure may be 4 years at the same time. If we decide not to see each other, unless we have a function or anything that the Federal Ministry of Transportation invite us, or International Maritime Organization, we can't see each other. So we may decide to stay back in our own offices and spend 4 years without seeing each other. So the beauty of that synergy between the CEOs of the maritime industry is that areas of conflicts where we have overlapping functions, the law can continue to exist and work hand in hand with each other's mandate. And then we agree, how do we go? Then we will see the missing link and now connect the dots.
Due to the challenges of crew change as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Kitak Lim, says a humanitarian crisis is taking place at sea and urgent action is needed to protect seafarers' health and ensure the safety of shipping. In a statement issued ahead of the General Assembly of the United Nations, Kitak Lim called on government to take swift action to resolve the crew change crisis.
Seafarers' work is unique and essential. Seafarers are on the front line in this global fight. They deserve our appreciation and also need a quick and decisive humanitarian action from governments, not just during this pandemic, but at all times.
It is estimated that more than 300,000 seafarers and marine personnel are currently stranded at sea and unable to be repatriated despite the expiry of their contracts. A similar number of seafarers have been unable to join ships and relieve them. This is due to restrictions imposed by several governments in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, including restrictions on travel, embarkation and disembarkation in ports, quarantine measures, reductions in available flights, and limits on the issuing of visas and passports. Some seafarers have now been on board their ships for more than 17 months, exceeding the 11-month limit set in the Maritime Labour Convention (MLC. Many have been denied proper access to medical care and shore leave in breach of their rights under the MLC and other international instruments. This creates serious concerns not only for seafarers' health and well-being, but also for the safety of shipping. Overly fatigued and mentally exhausted seafarers are being asked to continue operating vessels, increasing the risk of shipping casualties. Seafarers cannot remain at sea indefinitely, Mr. Lim insisted. If the crew change crisis is not resolved soon, ships will no longer be able to operate safely pursuant to the organization's regulations and guidelines, further exacerbating the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, he declared. Shipping moves more than 80% of the global trade and is a critical component of the global economy.
So you get to see the world for free by just traveling around the globe. That is the perspective that a lot of people see. They just say, oh, you're a seafarer, you work on the ship. Wow, how many countries have you been to? I've been to this, I've been to that. Wow. So you're traveling all around the globe without even getting a visa, without even paying for flight tickets. All of these are what people see outside. But when it comes to the job itself, you know, what you're going through, the risk involved in the job, and the factors that drains you down psychologically, you know, are not something easy that the majority of seafarers would want to talk about a go through. You know?
The IMO Secretary General invited member states to raise the issue of seafarers and the crew change crisis during the upcoming high-level week of the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly, beginning on the 22nd of September 2020. ILO, IMO, and the UN Global Compact will host a side event during that week in order to raise the visibility of the crew change crisis on World Maritime Day, 24 September 2020.
Now, the IMO truly is concerned about the seafarers. Imagine being 17 months out there, the high seas, the turbulence and all that instead of 11 months. Well, the team here is joining the IMO in asking the countries of the world to relax some of these laws when it comes to the seafarers.
Do you know who a seafarer is? Seafarers are the people who make the world go round. Seafarers are people who have been employed to work on the ships. They ensure smooth sailing of the ship while making sure that goods and services get to us from every part of the world. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, this set of people are still working for the benefit of everyone. Wow! Let us celebrate these special people as they are the people who truly make the world go round. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA.
Now, let's refresh your memories as per the Deep Blue project of the federal government. This was given birth to as a means of ensuring safety of lives at sea, to enforce the implementation of maritime regulations, and also to cut short or completely eradicate all forms of illegalities in our waterways, be they inland or out there in the open seas. The C4I Center in Kirikiri, which is fully operational, is key to achieving all this too. We paid a visit to it recently and would like to share with you what we found.
Following the approval of the Federal Executive Council for a holistic maritime security architecture for the country, the Command, Control, Computer and Communication Intelligence Center, otherwise known as the C4I Center, is now fully functional on a 24-hour basis. The center, located at the Regional Maritime Resource Coordination Center facility in Kirikiri, Lagos, is a major component of the Deep Blue project.
If you make reference to the report sent to us, you actually have seen some expectations from your end. And to see how the information is sent out to us, we are actually doing it live and to the essence of the project.
This is where the tactical and strategic decisions for the operational workflow of all the platforms of the project will emanate from. It is equipped with alert setting capabilities, Coastal Automatic Identification System AIS and SAT AIS signals all over the world, liaison with some international security networks for access to database for vessel movement, ability to monitor vessels movement 6 years backwards.
What we have on the screen here is the entire Nigerian EEZ. This is indicated by the white dotted line you see there. It shows you the border between the EEZ of Nigeria and our neighboring countries. The icons you see on top are vessels. These are real life vessels as they are.
The yellow dots.
Yes, the yellow dots. They identify vessels, different type of vessels. You can also have a symbol that tells you if this is a shipping vessel, a fishing vessel, a tanker, and
the type of vessel.
Yes, the type of vessel, the class of vessel.
In this security mechanism, the C4I Operational Center stands as the central nerve from which all actionable information needed by all other components of the Deep Blue project come from. The center serves as the base for situational intelligence for the Deep Blue project.
The Deep Blue project, otherwise known as the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, is an initiative of both the Ministries of Transportation and Defense with NIMASA warehousing. So far, the Deep Blue project has been able to make some strides in terms of acquisition of assets, facilities, like where we are now, this command and control, communication and computer intelligence center, known as the C4I center. This center has been functional since August 2019 and has been chunking out reports on a maritime domain. We have facilities that are meant for training, which have been completed at both Elele and have been put to use. We also have facilities at Onen. These facilities are geared towards making sure that we develop the capacity in terms of running this project. We have the various components that make up this project, and these components are mainly the marine assets, which we have about 2 special mission vessels, DP Abuja and DP Lagos, which are already arrived in the country. And we also have 17 interceptors that are supposed to augment the activities of special mission vessels. All these 17 of them have arrived in the country. And also have the armored vehicles, which is going to be used by the Army arm of this project. And these 16 armored vehicles are already in the country. This is the first of its kind in this part of the world. And all stakeholders must leverage on this and support NIMASA and the Federal Ministry of Transportation and Federal Ministry of Defense to make sure that these noble ideas come to life.
Now, if there is something you would need to know, is the fact that NIMASA is very, very keen on having female representation in the maritime sector. So this next story should be of interest to you. It has to do with the visit of Women International Shipping and Trading Association of Nigeria's visit to the NIMASA headquarters. The DG NIMASA was represented by the Executive Director of Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services. He was the host, and he definitely was a good host. The president of WISTA, Mrs. Eunice Ezeoke, announced that WISTA International signed an MOU with the IMO on technical cooperation and outlined WISTA's role to further its reach to women in the maritime industry.
We are delighted that WISTA Nigeria members have a rare privilege to make inputs from our country's perspective via the technical committee status, of which many of our members have leverage on. As we speak, a member of WISTA is enjoying IMO scholarship for her master's in UK.
Mrs. Ezeoke applauded the DG for his efforts in putting in place procedures for safe shipping operations, from extending the validity of the statutory certificate for all Nigerian registered vessels to updating the agency's guidelines for all shipping operations.
We are aware that the industry is plagued with many challenges, which was heightened since the COVID-19 lockdown Nevertheless, we observe that NIMASA, under your astute leadership, displayed dexterity and altruism to ensure that the nation's maritime industry remained operational. Sir, your effort to curb the spread of COVID-19 pandemic in the shipping sector while maintaining operations deserves an applause.
Engineer Victor Oche, the Executive Director of Maritime Labour and Capital Services, who represented the DG NIMASA, assured them of the agency's cooperation.
I'm very certain that when it comes to grooming people, the women, Star women also have a big role to play, and they're playing it as such. All I can say is that we'll ensure that more responsibilities are given to them so that they will properly groom those who are upcoming in the industry.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolve to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
The maritime sector is very key. The seafarers are very key. I'll also remind you again of what the IMO has said to the world to please consider the plight of the seafarers, because some of them really need to come back home. And while talking about the seafarers, let's quickly take a look at the tweet of the DG NIMASA, which actually concerns the seafarers. And he said, "Sea time is key time in the professional life of our seafarers. We at NIMASA don't pay lip service to it. That is why we extended the sponsorship of 400 cadets by 3 months across the globe in response to COVID-19. Despite the cost, NSDP will continue to train many more cadets." Now you heard that. In case you're not following the DG already on Twitter, you could. He's at Jamo Bashir. If you do follow him, you get to see some of these things firsthand and even get to ask him questions. And what about NIMASA? You could follow NIMASA on social media too. They are very, very present there. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, they are all at NIMASA Official. At NIMASA Official. I'll be leaving you now, but again, I remind you, please keep the environment clean, because the marine environment affects all of us, positively or negatively. My name is Cordelia Obe. Bye-bye.